reality in Los Angeles, in the ER. Doctor, welcome to Prime Time. God bless you and the people working by your side, taking care of these cases. And I want you to know we know what you're doing, and we appreciate you.
Thank you, Chris. I appreciate it. I had a shift earlier today. I want you to know I showered in decon before cleaning up to come on the show.
I appreciate it. You look like somebody who would be working in Los Angeles in an emergency room. You're all good looking out there. Now let me ask you this. Good looking doctor, ugly reality. If we relax restrictions, if there is a reopening of employment and those dynamics where you are right now, what do you think it will look like in your ER?
Well, I would look at it this way. You know, I've heard a lot of war analogies recently. I use this analogy respectfully. My grandfather fought in World War II. Yet to be seen yet if my generation could do what they did. But right now we're being called the front line, doctors and nurses. And imagine with today's rhetoric coming out of Washington and what you're hearing, being on the front line in Germany, back there in World War II, or approaching Normandy, and finding out, they might be calling off the Air Force. And I say that with seriousness. You, the American public, your viewers tonight, all of you at home, are indeed our Air Force. You are protecting us by staying at home and taking these directives from scientists and doctors seriously. If you don't stay home, and this gets worse, well, we've lost part of our war here and part of our support. And I think it's something that we're all really scared about.
The reality in the ER, what you're seeing in terms of how people struggle in the cases that require hospitalization, and what it is like life on a ventilator, and what it is for people who need them and don't get them. What is that reality?
Well, we've heard a lot of medical terminology like respiratory failure and intubation. And in just like plain terms, what that means is if you got a treadmill around or the gym that you used to go to, you've seen one, put that thing up at an 8 as far as its incline. Okay, so now that's like this. And then turn up the speed as fast as you can run. And run for as long as you can. Most of us, by 2 or 3 minutes, will be breathing 40, even 50 times a minute. And the reality is, your body can't breathe that fast for that long. Eventually, you will become exhausted and go into cardiac arrest. And so that is the kind of case that requires an emergent intubation. And that is the kind of power behind this virus. That's what it's doing to folks. And so that's obviously a very scary reality for both the patient and, of course, as the doctor and nurses and everybody involved in the team who needs to take care of that patient, because that procedure has to be done within seconds. I want to highlight one more thing about PPE. You've heard about shields and masks and all the things that we're being asked to wear. It's very challenging putting this stuff on correctly and taking it off correctly. There was a study done some years ago that in peacetime, when there wasn't an outbreak, had a bunch of providers gown up in a space and wear all the gear. A substance that glows in the dark was sprayed on them. Then they were asked to take off all the stuff, and black lights go on. 100% of those doctors and nurses still had traces of the disease, of the glowing substance on them. So this is tough stuff for all of us.
And you're not going to have to be the source on this, but I know that doctors where you work and medical staff in Los Angeles, in California, in New York are being forced to reuse protective equipment because there's not enough. And that is unacceptable, and we are really risking you guys. And once we start losing you guys and doing the work, we're not going to have enough people to save people, and it's dire. Last thing, if you could tell the president something about your reality and what you want him to keep in mind when he's making the judgment of what to do and when, what would you want him to know?
I'd say, look, there's a chance here, and I think we're all really desperate for it, for real positive leadership. Think back to FDR, Eisenhower, great names in American leadership in wartime. What we need on the front line, and we really are your frontline team here, and I speak for physicians and nurses, I think, who are in the ER and ICUs across the country as best as I can, that we really need encouragement, we need protection, and we need you to take this seriously. And I know that's something that you can do, and we would really appreciate it.
Dr. Ryan McGarry, you're not just our hands, you're our heart, and you're our best chance going forward. God bless, and know that we support you, We believe in you. No matter what's said in politics, know that the American people know who's saving their lives. And we all owe you a debt of gratitude for what you've done and what unfortunately we know you're going to be forced to do.
Thank you, Chris. I appreciate it.
Be safe, brother, and thank you.
Thank you.
Doctors, they're going to be there. It's going to be bad. We have to think about them, and we have to think for them in terms of what's best for them as well.